Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. And this is right after I just finished recording my tier list video. For those of you that don't know, I planned it a while back. I did a tier list, counting all the Pokemon of the game. I said I'd do it again in 6 months. I just finished recording that live with a lot of people watching. You guys were commenting as I was I wasn't reading along because I had it minimized because I was getting my reactions. Now is the second portion of that stream. This is going to be its own video separate from the one that I just finished recording. If you want to watch that video, I highly suggest you watch that one first. Before this one, I'll have it linked in the description because I'm going to have chat on screen. Going to be reacting to chat's thoughts and how they disagree with me or agree with me. There's probably going to be a lot of chaos, so enjoy. I'm going to have chat on screen, though, for the first time, since not doing it. And I failed to do that right away. Okay, there we go. Okay. Okay. Let's see what people are saying. I know I asked about Ditto. Ditto's biscuit bait. People say Ditto's bad. Okay. So I originally ranked Ditto C tier. So, okay, that's alright. Put Ditto at F. Arguments for Wobbuffet. Wobbuffet. I like some of these chats. Legit criticism, though, I'd probably put Meow in S tier. Good skill and potatoes are important in high tier dishes. Okay, let's look and address this. Potatoes are in some high tier. It's in one high tier dish, realistically. Just that, Defiant, and also, I guess, the Petal Blizzard. I don't know if that really feels incomplete without Swablu, really. Okay. Something as legendaries are hard to get for the casual player, which is one assumption. Well, I didn't put them... I ranked them in C just because they were more of a niche application. Even if you catch a good one, you can build teams around it and use them all the time if you find that fun. But overall, I think that it's still, if you're trying to optimize and play it really well, oftentimes just running a berry specialist of that type or another ingredient specialist can do better. I think their best purpose in the meta is for berry bombing, which is a niche application, which is why I put them in C. Darkrai tier, good if your free Eureka Seed gave you BFS at level 10. Then you get a crit cap. The health bonus at 25. That's really how it feels with Darkrai, but I was trying to evaluate them in a vacuum. Hi, YouTube. Yeah. Okay, why do you rate some Pokemon based on strength in a vacuum and others based on potential late-game performance and others on E4E? Well, okay. Because it's hard to in the vacuum approach. Because realistically, if it's truly a vacuum, then E4E would be actually really bad, because it'd just be strictly worse if they're on their own. Compared to like self-recharge Pokemon. Theoretically, if you were truly in a vacuum, Umbreon would be a strict upgrade to energy for everyone, but we all know that doesn't really work. So I tried taking it in a vacuum approach, but that's very difficult. Man up. yeah. Definitely higher than it is. The skill is so useful too. The skill is useful. Yeah, I can agree that it should be higher up, because the skill is... Yeah, I guess I didn't really give too much credence to the skill, because it can expand the pot, getting you those higher tier meals that it's trying to make. Yeah, I didn't really think about that much when I was going through the thing. So if you're trying to make Defiant, then I guess that means that you don't have to use the pot expander. I still think that's not necessarily game-changing. I don't think I put it up in S tier, but I'll bump it up. I'll put it just above... I'll put it at top of A tier. Cress is niche. Not if you're using it as an... If you catch a really good one, it's definitely not niche. The teams that have Cress and rely on Cress for a strong energy for everyone Pokemon is definitely not a niche niche usage. Now let's speak about the Raichu bias. Hey, I was open about the Raichu bias. Okay. You need a Cress Raichu intervention. Wait. Metronome and skill copy is one of the funniest parts of the game. Ergo, all affected Pokemon by a tier higher. Yeah, Metronome is... Well, okay, if you actually run Metronome, I'll be honest. I have the dude that introduced me to the game. He ran a team of metronome Pokemon for a while and sent me some screenshots. I've been intending to make a video about metronome, but haven't gotten around to it yet. So, in his experience with it, and from what I've seen, metronome oftentimes just gives you self-recharge, is like what it looks like. Because there's so many different variants of self-recharge, that most of the time it just generates healing. So it really isn't all that impacted by the better Pokemon, because those skills are just one out of a very large pool of a lot of healing skills. So it makes it actually a bit more of a, like, half the time self-healer, half the time, or like a third of the time self-healer, a third of the time charge strength S or M, and then like the last little third is like everything else. But skill copy is funny because of how it is affected by everything else. Undervalue of pod expansion on the list is my biggest problem with the list. That's a difficult one. It's very impactful if you're using it right, but you have to use it right. How is Dugtrio so low? Mine is better than my Quaquaval for leaks. Well, that's good sub-skills making the difference. It's extra difficult to justify right now. Okay. E4E is top of the C tier to be... Okay, there's no way that's the case. That's you guys being sarcastic. Okay. I only like 6 good camp tickets in a year. That's alright. And that makes that I addressed that in the video. It is... But that's still a niche on the weeks that you're not using good camp tickets. The weeks that matter most, you don't need the pod expander. Which is why I think that it's more of a niche thing. Last week, I fully prepped for Perk Up Stew, made 300k plus Berry Bomb, and achieved 2.4 million during prep week. The Beaks deserve higher than C tier. Late game potential despite niche. I mean, that's a reasonable case, reasonable argument for the Beasts. That's for sure. But I don't know if it's really game-changing. Because, like, there are other ways to that's another video that's on the list of things that I want to do. If Crest is S, Mimikyu... But they can't heal at the same time. The only reason why Crest is S tier is because it heals at the same time. If you don't have a great one, then you shouldn't be considering its heals. But if you have a great one, it can produce stronger teams than what the other healers can do. Watch my case for Crest video. It goes in more description about that. Higher than Quaquaval makes sense to me. I agree. First time catching the stream, your video... Thanks, Poseidon. Surprised how high Alolan Ninetales... I've talked about it before. I think it's one Pokemon that a lot of people are sleeping on. Damn. That must be nice. I rarely get the healing and charge procs. They're literally everything else. How is E4E not a niche? Okay, that's not a niche. That's a core central game mechanic. Keep giving us free pod expansion in the future. I'll agree that pod expansion is mid-game at earliest, but it's still going to remain relevant if only because of. So, if they ever introduce a single meal that makes it so that pod expansion, if they ever make it that they introduce a single meal that cannot be made with the current max, then the max pot size under good camp ticket, then there is a much stronger case for pod expanders on every Pokemon that has access to pod expansion. And honestly, that's something that I want to see, because I think I would love to see these Pokemon be more useful on everyone's account rather than just people that do not whale the game. Okay, meal size creep. Let's bump those skill values up to S tier. I'm sorry, I knew Smouse, I knew you'd have a problem with that. Technically, isn't Braviary better Golduck with matching berries? So, I've run the comparisons before. It can be better It might be better now at level 65. I haven't actually run the comparisons at level 65 yet. But I remember when level 60 was the max level. It's worse without Favored Berry, better with Favored Berry, so it's kind of towing a weird line. Core central game mechanics include... Okay, maybe not core central game mechanics. Core central team building strategies. Good camp ticket is so expensive, though. It is pretty expensive, but if, in my experience, when I was free to play, I would be willing to save the diamonds and spend them on good camp ticket because it is the single most impactful way to spend your diamonds. Because, like, everything else that you can do with diamonds, even, like, bundles, they oftentimes just give you Poke Biscuits, which you can get through the main shop. Good camp ticket boosts your strength. It gives you extra hungry Pokemon, which actually saves biscuits. In my experience, I think that it's a much better use of your diamonds than anything else in the game. If you're free to play, it's maybe a bundle that has seeds or a bundle that has a good camp ticket in it, because then it's like you're getting the ticket and the biscuits at the same time. But it's worth it, and I think that pot expansion makes it a bit more niche. Pot expansion also boosts Dedenne. That is true. If you're using a lot of Dedenne procs and you're doing the Monday morning prep strat, then it definitely is stronger. Once again, that's still a niche, and I think that the berry bombing strategy niche is better than the pot expansion niche, in my opinions. How many people can actually afford it more than 1 or 2 times a month, counting the premium good camp ticket in that? I mean, theoretically, you should get... If you're meeting all the missions, I actually don't know how many... I need to look up the missions to really figure that out. I don't know how many diamonds you'd be getting per month on average, but... Beasts are OP, definitely not C tier. Same case as if you get a good crest, it's good. Same for good beasts. Well, here's the thing. A crest can serve and take the spot of your energy for everyone healer if it's good enough, and reliably make all your teams better. The beasts, on the other hand, depend more upon having matching types than what a crest does, and the beasts also still require that you dedicate a slot to energy for everyone after that point, which oftentimes is going to be off type, unless you have a Raikou with a good Pawmot. That's the only one that there could be a case for Pawmot or Raikou going up. I could see that. Just because it has access to an energy for everyone healer that synergizes with it. But overall, I don't know. I wouldn't say it's still game-changing. I still think it's more of a niche. Because, like I said, a great Typhlosion, oftentimes, I'd say, probably outputs more strength comparative to running an Entei on the team. Braviary at 65 is better than off-island Golduck and better on-island. Yes, by a ton at on-island. Okay, I haven't compared the level 65, so I'll be willing to bump it up a little bit then. Berry Burst. That's fair. B should just have their own tier. People think that C equals bad. Yeah, that's not really... They're not bad, it's just niche. Like, that's the thing. Be open to making a guide on late game strats like berry bombing and ingredient bombing. I actually have been in the works of a video that I'm thinking about working on that's about week-to-week carryover strategies, because I think there's some very powerful strategies for sure. Like berry bombing, Drifblim's the potential overstacking with the pod expanders, all niche applications, but it's a good niche. They can kind of feel. Sir, do you find ingredient tickets valuable? I always forget ingredient tickets exist. The beasts aren't that great outside of Berry Bomb niche. They're only okay even with really good skills. Yeah, that's why I put them in C tier. Definitely above Kanga though. Kanga, I could be convinced to drop Kanga a little bit. I think it's okay to put the beasts in niche. Anyone who missed getting one with okay skills during their events is never going to get one, basically. That's also pretty true. That explains Vaporeon. Yeah, I always forget ingredient tickets exist altogether. Oftentimes I'll be sitting on a stack of like 20 of them and like, oh, crud, I gotta use these so they're not just sitting in my box. and taking up space. And when I do use them, it's oftentimes like, oh shoot, I need like a little bit more of this one ingredient for this meal. So I'm gonna spam a bunch of them in hopes to get the one. I feel Gengar deserves A. I did put it in B, didn't I? I think Raiku's the worst of the three beasts. Extra triggers for Pokemon that are already extremely fast. Yeah, that's not that great for it, but like I said, it's the only one that has an energy for everyone healer that synergizes with it. So it's got... I think it's a little bit better than Suicune for overstacking because it synergizes with Jolteon. It synergizes with Pawmot. So it can lean a bit more into overstacking than what Suicune can do. That's the only reason why I put it a little bit higher. Now as for... if you make a general use team out of it, it's got the strongest case for a general use team because it synergizes with Pawmot. But you have to catch the Pawmot first. Okay. Beasts make me able to do the higher level dishes without having level 16mon or 16 Pitmon. You guys are not creative. Shiny tier list? Well, I mean, if we're talking stats, it's going to be the same as this for shiny tier list, but... as for how the shinies look, I don't know. I can tell you Gengar would be a lot lower. I don't get Gengar's shiny. And Sableye would be a lot higher if it was shiny. He is solid and herbs are rare early. That's true. He's just... it's kind of... it's the closest they've gotten to a true jack-of-all-trades Pokemon. Although it's missing one of the 3 trades, so it's a jack of, like, 2 trades. Is Gallade better than Arcanine in your opinion? Gallade. Gallade is better for raw procs. But, well, I guess when I ranked Espeon down in B, I said I can't really consider its synergy with Cress. So I guess I shouldn't really put it that highly then, if I'm considering... I guess that should bump... yeah, I'll move Gallade up, actually, after thinking through that. You can just run Raikou as slow ingredient Pokemon. That's also true. Granted, it doesn't synergize with the whole boosting the type. You can have, like, one Raikou, Pawmot, maybe Jolteon, and then the slow ingredient Pokemon. Explain Sableye over Lucario and Umbreon over Lucario. Sableye over Lucario is really easy. It's actually good at the skill. I don't need to zoom out for this. Give me a moment. I was making some comparisons earlier. It's about the same for the skill, but it's got the better skill. Unless, I guess I haven't run this since, I haven't run this since the, main skill level 8 came out. Let me change this. You'll lose chat on screen for a little bit because I haven't I didn't put chat on this input. Whoops. But let's see. If I just make their main skill level 8, it should make more Dream Shards if I'm remembering correctly. Yeah, by a pretty significant amount. By like 2,000. That's like a... oh, I guess like 1,300. That's a 13% increase. That's almost a Help Speed Emsworth. I guess it's not as good as what I thought it was. I guess I was remembering from before when it was even worse. Because when it was main skill level 7 was the comparison. If that was even worse. Well, let's put him at level 60 as well. Just cause. Because they made the... yeah. Back then it was even worse. Like 2,400 difference. So I guess it's not as bad nowadays, but that's the reasoning why. Raw strength in a vacuum or skill strength. Well, okay. Okay, this is why tier lists are imperfect. I get the point you're trying to make, Ben Brown. Okay. Okay. And then Umbreon over Lucario. Well, once again... because Umbreon can... okay, you know what? Actually, there's a case there. If they have better raw strength. I guess I didn't really look into that all that much. Real was easier to hunt for as well. Well, I wasn't really considering how easy to hunt for. Otherwise, like I said, Darkrai, Cramorant, all the 16-pit Pokemon would probably drop 2 tiers in viability, in my opinion. And Crest would be like... the legend... Crest would probably be in D, and these guys would probably be down in F. Thanks for making me smile. You're welcome. The Blissey Shiny incident. Oh yeah, Blissey Shiny. Fair play. Yeah. Yeah, I think genuinely, if I were to do this for return on investment and consider how many pips they cost, or like how hard it is to hunt them, I think every 16 pip Pokemon in this tier list would probably drop 2 whole rankings. And like I said, I think the legendaries would all be down in no, aside from Cresselia, who'd be in like D. Actually, no, even I would even put Cresselia in no. That's too much of a catch. All the legendaries would be down to no because they cost way too much. And Darkrai would have his own category below no for just Darkrai tier. But ability to hunt alt for a race does contribute to viability. It does, which is why I addressed it at the start of the video. Because it is difficult to do this sort of thing. Tier lists are imperfect. You could make a tier list for each one of these attributes, honestly. One for just how cheap they are, one for how strong they are, one for trying to mesh all them together makes it very complicated. Anyway, other things with like, if I was shifting this around for return on investment, Raichu would be higher because Pichu is super common. Anyone can catch a good one if you dedicate yourself to doing it. It might take a long time. You might have to get screwed by RNG, but they spawn like stinking everywhere. Evolutions would probably also be raised by like 1 tier as well, just because Eevee's stinking everywhere. So you get a lot of candies and you get a lot of Eevee spawns. You're probably gonna catch a good one. Space Onyx really that good? Still haven't seen one. It is if you get the ribbon on it. It's actually technically stronger than Steelix for raw strength, raw berry strength. If you're not comparing at different islands, obviously Steelix is better. They're basically one and the same, in my opinion. If you need an old gold power plant berry specialist, go for a Steelix. If you need a top hollow berry specialist, go for Onyx. I like using ABB Aggron for Defiant Coffee Jar Salad. It works pretty well, and I did kind of consider that. Earlier, someone suggested needs a buff tier. Any mons that you want to buff? Well, all the ones in no would need a buff. Other ones that I would like to see a buff on, I'd like to see an alteration in Primeape a little bit. Primeape definitely could use a bit of a buff. I just want to see him get an Annihilate, honestly. After thinking through things more, there was another one that I said was very comparable. I think Absol could use a buff as well. I would love to see Absol get its own variation of Super Luck. But for pip-adjusted, Quaquaval should be above Farfetch. Yeah, I would also probably do that. Well, like I said, Farfetch being a 16 pip option would drop 2 tiers. It'd be down in B tier, which Quaquaval is up in A tier, so yes, that is true. Need an explanation on late game since it determined Golduck's rank. Well, I'm talking like level 65 primarily. IDK, we don't have Dream Shard Magnet M. Probably because the devs value Dream Shard. I mean, Dream Shard Magnet S is good enough, honestly. If it's on a Swalot, maybe a Sableye. Those two are like the 2 exceptions. They're the only good Dream Shard Magnet Pokemon in the game. It would be nice to have a Dream Shard Magnet M, though, that procs less, but has higher strength. Okay, we don't... what buff would make Wobbuffet viable and make us regret Cramomaticing the candies? I don't think anything would really make us regret Cramomaticing the candies because it is such a common spawn that I don't think we'd have difficulty raising it. And it's a skill specialist, so it doesn't really care about its level anyway. But I'd say buff for Wobbuffet, probably just looking to... I think it needs to be a buff to Energizing Cheer. I think they just need to make it so that it's guaranteed to hit the lowest energy Pokemon instead of random. If they just remove that extra layer of RNG, I think it would be a viable skill and have a niche. But as of right now, even just the slight chance, it's already producing less energy. Why does it need to have RNG killing it even further? Easy change for one of the bad Dream Shard mons. Yeah, that's true. Persian, Payday, Dream Shard Magnet M. Just gotta say that. That'd be kind of cool. I don't know what they do with Payday. Maybe it's got a chance to crit and give you like 20,000. It feels like the devs are playing around with this haunch grow. Yeah. Skeletor is bad. Apples are easy to get, and it doesn't even get that many. Whoa. It doesn't get that many? Have you seen the charts? Skeletor makes a boatload of apples. If you get the mono, it's insane. Level 60, I mean, this is comparing 83 with like 83 without any sub skills. According to this, Help Speed M and Ingredient Finding M is all it needs. You get 125 apples off of that. You don't even probably need the Help Speed M, and you'll probably be meeting meta calls. If you say that it's not making that many apples, then you're just ignoring the numbers there, bud. That's a lot of apples. A lot of things make apples, but Skeletor makes more. Oh, compared to Berry skill Pokemon. I mean, I'm gonna compare it to my Raichu that I use regularly. And I'll even remove my Raichu's nature because that's technically gonna be harming it for ingredient productivity. So for comparison, a typical berry specialist that produces apples, it would make like 50. That's still like less than half what the Skeletor would be making. And that's also assuming that you have... It's also assuming that you have the berry specialists that make apples. If every Raichu that you catch has an ABB list or an ABC list, then you don't have that much accessibility to apples. They would need a nerf base regain of Energizing Cheer, though. 100% healing lowest energy would be broken at current numbers. Goodbye, E4E. I still don't think that's the case. Because you need to be checking it a lot. You need to be checking it a lot still. And it doesn't heal 100%. Oh, it would need to... Okay, it would need to be like it prioritizes. So it would go from 0... If they're at 0, then it'd go to 50%. And then whatever's the second lowest mod will go to 50% if it's a double frock. Raichu, Dedenne, and Gardevoir. Yeah, I mean, all of them produce apples, but you don't know the... Once again, you don't know what list you land on them, because you're not hunting for them with that. Listening with the best apple mod in the game. Yeah. Okay, would love a pickup skill that some of the Dream Magnet Pokemon could be buffed to have. That'd be kind of neat. Most of the time, give Dream Clusters, but sometimes it could give biscuits and stuff. That'd be a cool way to get some biscuits. I don't know if I want to see a skill that can give biscuits, but if it's... That'd be kind of nice for free-to-play, I think. Considering all the other top tiers have apple, it really devalues the need for an apple ingredient specialist. I can agree to that. But even just on the... And honestly, like, I haven't invested in my Skeletor for that exact reason. But I also have 2 mono apple... I have a mono apple Dedenne and a mono apple Raichu. So... Pickup that sometimes gives evolution stones. Oh, yes, that would actually be pretty nice. It'd have to be a really rare chance, so like it's... But that'd be a great way to get around the sleep point deficit. Maybe instead of making sleep points... Maybe instead of giving us more sleep points, maybe the solution to the sleep point problems that a lot of people have is making that you can get evolution items in other ways. You also get free apples from daily login. That is true, but you get 10 after 7 days. That's less than 2 per day on average. That's not really that many. Mostly hard to get, except for linking cable. When you need apples, you really... Yeah, that's also the problem. All the meals that take a lot of apples take a lot of apples. 35 in Zing Zap, 28 in Apple Acid. Like, even in Tea Time Corn Scones, you need 20 for each meal. Like, minimum, you're looking for 60 a day, which, like I compared earlier, my Raichu with a mono apple list with a helping bonus, Health Speed M, is still only producing 50. Granted, you get a little bit from the nightcap if you have the Go Plus Plus. You get a little bit from the weekly rewards, but that's not that many more. Zigzagoon with pickup. I would Linoon. And then what could they do for Galarian Galarian Zigzagoon. What could they do with, what does he evolve into again? Obstagoon? 1% odds on Evo Stones. Yeah. Buff my Lucario. Yeah, I would love to see Lucario also get a buff. Like I said, all these Pokemon down here need some sort of a buff. I think the Energizing Cheer Pokemon just need it to be guaranteed. Energy goes to the lowest tier level, lowest energy Pokemon. I think that would at least give them a niche. As for Lucario, maybe a rework to its main skill, maybe a higher skill proc rate. Marowak just needs frequency. Maybe a unique main skill to give it something else, but ugh. Catching evolved or 16-pip mons should have a chance for held item. That'd be kind of cool. I just feel like between my guards, Dirge, and Golduck, I always get enough. I mean, it depends on what ingredient lists you roll on them. Maybe you can make the... Oh, but you mentioned Dirge, because that's the point here that was being made. Somebody was saying that Dirge isn't necessarily supposed to be that high, but... Galarian Zigzagoon, put down, steals your items. Okay, I do like that idea. I don't like it in a sense of, like, I'd want to see that added to the game, but I like it in that that's funny. Even with 1% odds, I'd run a mon that gave me stones so much. Maybe I could just pull from, like, the potential daily gift thing, but also add Evo stones to it. They'd have to give it a... That'd be interesting to see. It'd be interesting to see and how it would be balanced. I never need to run my Dirge with a Mono Apples guard. I guess that... I feel I could throw away 50 apples a day thanks to AA guard. Okay, I guess there can be a case for lower on the Skeledirge. Maybe not out of S tier. Maybe more generally good. If you guys made that case for the Meow, I'll put it there. Because there are a lot of things that make apples. Dirge definitely deserves a high ranking. Yeah, and I'll rank it high, but I moved it down to A tier. Because maybe it's not so game-changing to have access to it. Because you know what? If that's the case, then why haven't I invested in my Mono Apple Skeledirge? So, I'll put it there now. Still can't figure out why I should use a Marowak and Primeape when I can find a 3-stage with a better proc or ingredient rate. Well, you wouldn't be looking for them for procking or... Oh! Proc or ingredient rate. They're berry specialists. That'd be the primary thing you'd be looking for them. Apples aren't even used right now. People still make weaker meals. I still make Zingzap consistently. I have not gone up to the Clodsire Eclairs because I have better teams for Zingzap Cola, even though it's weaker. You gotta think of full team output. Sometimes taking a weaker meal is worth it for a stronger overall team with more berry specialists. So apples are still used by lots of players. In fact, with Apple Acid coming out, I'm probably going to go towards that more than Defiant Coffee Just Salad on my account, personally. Dirge is nice to throw in when you need apples and card is overhealing. Dirge can take care of itself. Weird, it's classified next to its peers. Okay. Yeah, I get the point. Okay. Since Dodrio and Dugtrio have 200% more heads, the devs should buff the frequency by 200%. Or no. Instead of buffing their frequency by 200%, make it so that all their berry procs are tripled, all their ingredient procs are tripled, and now if they get a main skill chance proc, it's just 3 skill procs. That wouldn't have any impact because it would just come up as 1 because they can only bank 1, but yeah, that's definitely a balanced approach to buffing them. Zingzap is still plenty good. If you say apples are not useless, you're ignoring the concepts of team building and you're looking too much at just making the strongest meal. The strongest meal isn't the only thing in the game. Actually, yeah, but... Okay, Ivan Brown... classified next to its peers. Yeah, I think that's the reason why I put it higher, actually. Because I was thinking more just the Apple access, and that is not necessary. You know what? Ivan Brown is actually probably unintentionally convinced me to bump it back up into S tier. Because I was trying to give it in a vacuum, so... Maybe free apples. Vigoroth and Slacking are actually not bad. I mean, if you make a production comparison on its... Here, let's see. I should probably go to the other... I want to leave it on this screen, but at the same time, I don't want the ads to show up. You know what? It is game breaking for apples. Yes, it is. We're getting the whole screen back on here again. You guys have to endure the ads again. I'll still leave the top bar off. But we'll re-expand all this. Okay, we'll put it all down here, though. There'll be a black... We'll put it more centered. There we go. Okay. So. Arguably, it's the only S tier. Hey, man, what's up? Not much. Okay, Vigoroth and Slacking. This is the accusation right now. I mean, let's just make the comparison. Slacking... I'm sorry, it's trying to ride a weird line. But as far as Vigoroth goes, it's looking to be a berry specialist, and you want the ribbon. Slacking is about Vaporeon, but it's not, though. It's got problems. If we compare just the base rates, for what they could be, Vigoroth's pretty close to Walrein. Let's see. Well, but Walrein... Okay. Let's see Walrein here. Hey, what up? What up, GTC cards? Okay, the base rates. Let's look at the comparison. The base rates on Walrein versus Vigoroth. Strength-wise, even with the ribbon, it's still 500 here behind it. Percentage-wise, that's coming out to about 55k versus 53k. That's like roughly 4% difference. So I guess they're pretty close. So I guess maybe you could make the case for a ribbon Vigoroth being similar to Walrein, but it's not that much. I guess I could move Vigoroth up a little bit because we're considering ribbon was the approach. So I'll move it up a little bit, but it's still not getting out of Met here. Because maybe that actually is more of a case to bring Walrein down, honestly, than it is to bring Vigoroth up. But Slacking, on the other hand, Ingredient Magnet, compared to Vaporeon, I mean, and Heracross. I'm going to refresh the page just to make this load faster. If you get good sub-skills, you do Vigoroth. If you get good berry finding sub-skills, that's a big asterisk there. If you get good skill sub-skills, then there's a case for Slacking, but Vaporeon. The base rates, I mean, 3.6 versus 3.35. This one's better, but you're running into more inventory issues with Slacking than what you would be with Vaporeon. Vaporeon can last longer without filling its inventory. It's got a smaller inventory, but this one's a berry finder, so it has double the berries. It's got more problems there. It's got a lower trigger rate. You also have to check it more frequently because it can only bank one skill instead of two. So it's it's got more problems that Brionix can't even necessarily show you because it doesn't account for check time, realistically. They have a function for check time, but I don't know how reliable it is. I guess I could put in, if you put in like a 3-hour check time, it does hurt the Slacking more than it does the Vaporeon because the Vaporeon can double bank. So that's also a consideration with it as well. Okay, I'm falling behind on getting back here because I got sidetracked. Hey, what up? That requires 2,000 sleep hours to get to that point. That's also true. But I wasn't really considering what it would take to invest them up to that point. And then you might as well hunt a Vulpix. A Vulpix, yeah. If you get to that point, you're probably going to be at Snowdrop and then go for a Alolan Vulpix. Because it is just awesome. Alolan Vulpix is very underrated by a lot of the community. Didn't expect Owls to be a discussion when I walked into when I got home from work. ABA Suicune and AAX Guard provides all my Apple's needs. Dirge Crocodile is useless. Can't believe Suicune is C. I use Beast every time I go hard mode. I mean, they produce a lot of extra helps, but generally speaking, the strength output by a good, I have a phenomenal Entei, and I've run a lot of calculations. It is rare that running my Entei, very rare that running my Entei is better than running another solid berry specialist. And that's my... I put them in C because that's a niche application. If you get good subs... saying it's more berries, though. I mean, it does get more berries, but if you're looking at it for the skill, you're looking at it for the skill. Combining berry and skill productivity, and also we're basing it off of a niche application to begin with. Vaporeon is ranked in C tier. So being worse than Vaporeon doesn't do it any good. What's the topic? Trying to figure out why we're discussing apples? A lot of people are debating where I should put Skeledirge. Is it game-changing, or is it just generally good? Double ingredient dirge is useless. Yeah, but it's also, remember, it's context of I was trying to evaluate not considering other Pokemon that you have available to you, because that's going to be different from account to account. So on some people's accounts, they're not going to have necessarily all the apples that they can get from all the other Pokemon. So it's game-changing to have access to that apples from the Skeledirge. If you have ABB Raichu, ABB Gardevoir, all the ones that you're probably getting your supplementary apples from, Skeledirge is going to be game-changing. And the in a vacuum approach, there are problems with it, but you have to simplify somewhere on making a tier list. And that's the route that I took. And that's where Skeledirge, I put it that high. How good should a crest be to be a Gardevoir replacement? I would say at least 3 good things if you go by the Iben Brown ranking. But that's not going to be perfect because, like, I'd rank Helping Bonus higher than Help Speed S. I'd rank Helping Bonus higher than even Help Speed M. So, like, if it has Skill Trigger M and Helping Bonus, that's probably enough by my... Well, I don't know if that'd be enough. I'd say at least 3 good things by the looking at its sub-skills in nature. Yeah, you can't evaluate any ingredient Pokemon in a vacuum. That's also true. Like I said, there's lots of flaws with the tier list system, and I've discussed that, kind of. But it's fun to do tier lists, and it's giving opinions, so... What's a Vulpix? Haven't seen one in a minute. Psychic also gets more ingredients, not from the skill. That's true, but that goes against the berry finding point. So, if you look at the total amount of ingredients it's pulling in, and also, this is a level 1. Oh, okay, that also says something. Level 1 Vaporeon was better than level 60 Slacking. If they were the same here, that'd be a different point. If I bring this to level 60, those frequency buffs should make it even better. In a vacuum, Cramorant should be best ingredient Pokemon. I mean, in a way, yeah, I guess if it's truly true. Well, actually, Ditto might. No, I don't think. No, Dragonite would definitely be the best. Because truly in a vacuum would be this. Here, let's see. If I bring in Dragonite, that's definitely the highest in raw ingredient strength. That I think even... I think that beats out Cramorant, even with Cramorant's value being boosted, not nature. Max level main skill. It's not producing that many. So, raw strength, 19,000 versus 30,000. Dragonite's gonna be... And that's assuming that's getting those skill procs. Even with a skill trigger nature, it's probably not comparable to the Dragonite's raw strength ingredients. Okay. Sassy nature, skill trigger M at level 25, and green fighting M at... Ooh, help speed M at level 100. That's a close one. Close call, I'd say. I'd say run it through Ranonex and see how it compares on teams. We all play a little differently due to the dice roll mons we've caught. That is also very true. Every account's different from the next. In a vacuum, Vaporeon destroys any ingredient mon but the Kanto starters. Well, I don't know if it destroyed Dragonite and Tyranitar. They produce stupid amounts of high-value ingredients. Actually, no, Vaporeon definitely produces more ingredients, though. It's just a lot. My catfish nickname, Vaporeon. That's a pretty good nickname for a Vaporeon. I have run out of water at this point. I finally caught up to chat. Yeah, I guess it's not truly in a vacuum. Okay. Alrighty, I'll sim on Ran. Also got 1 Crest Incense to gamble. Oh boy, make sure you use it on a new moon event so that you're more likely to actually catch it, because it could get all full. Who would be game to have a 1 Poke only week high score contest? So you can only use 1 Pokemon? Like, truly in a vacuum? Oh man, that would be very interesting, because you wouldn't be able to use... Honestly, Quagsire on Curries might be... ABA Quagsire on Curries might be best for that. Either that or a berry specialist with favored berry and berry finding S. And lots of speed. No helping bonus. What meal can Dragonite or T-Tar make in a vacuum? Yeah, none. The only one that can truly make it in a vacuum would be... Like I said, I think Absol or Quagsire would be the only 2 options, I believe. Or Mawile in a limited capacity if you have the main skill maxed. Or the main skill pretty high up there. Oh, Abomasnow could make Melty Omelet Curry. But Quagsire with Spore Mushroom or Absol with Petal Dance. I think those are the only options for a single Pokemon. I think you'd probably be better off just going with a Berry Specialist, though. Genuinely. I guess ABC Blastoise, but it's not going to be making the right proportions. And nobody has that yet. Well, some people might, but most people don't have that. Still question, but what number are you comparing and looking at for skill triggers on Raynon X? So for skill triggers, you're looking at this number right here. So if I pull up, like this Dragonite produces 1.99 skill procs per day, on average. I mean, one isn't so... Level 60 Comfey. Thing is, that still wouldn't do it on its own, because the level 60 Comfey makes ginger and corn. Which there's no just ginger and corn meals. Like I said, I think Absol and Quagsire are the only ones that have real options for a single Pokemon team. Okay. Wrong. The Kanto starters. Oh, I guess the Kanto starters can theoretically... Actually, Vaporeon. Vaporeon would be your best bet if you want to go meal focused. Because there's no other Pokemon in the game that on their own would be able to really make one of these. Like, okay, Mawile as well, with Ingredient Draw, theoretically can make green grass salad. So happy you did this today. Love your content. Thanks, man. Great to see you in chat. I want justice for Musharna, Altaria, and Arbok. I mean... I could... Okay, Altaria and Arbok... Like I said, if they had an island, they'd be higher. There's no doubt about that. ABC Blastoise at level 57. Hey, you could almost get it there, and then maybe make Contrary Meat Salad every now and then when you get enough chocolate. 70 point gals, you can catch up. Yeah. Anyway, anytime, David. Can you remind me what it means to be in a vacuum? You know, that definition has kind of been in flux as the night has gone on. Because in a vacuum truly would theoretically mean on their own, and then energy for everyone wouldn't really be up that high. Maybe it's not a vacuum, I'll be honest. Gramite should really be higher. Blastoise over Dirge. I don't think Blastoise is that game-changing, though. So I guess the vacuum approach that I'm taking here was, how does it compare when not considering the other options in your box for the same role? Obviously, you have to consider some other Pokemon, because if it's truly in a vacuum and you're only running one Pokemon, no ingredient specialist is just truly viable. So you have to consider what other options exist out there for other things to make that Pokemon's ingredients useful. But it can't be considered like apples. The apple discussion from earlier. Lots of Pokemon get apples. Apples are very powerful. If you don't have apples on the ones that typically supplement apples, though, like Raichu, like Dedenne, like Gardevoir, then Skeledirge is going to have a lot more value, and because apples as a whole are pretty solid. So I still think access to Skeledirge is game-changing in a capacity. It might not be game-changing for you because you have a mono-apple Raichu that can supplement enough apples that you don't necessarily need to run the Skeledirge to get the apples that you need. But for people who don't have those weird edge cases, Skeledirge is going to be game-changing. Meanwhile, that's not necessarily the case with access to Cacao through Blastoise. I guess Cacao is in Clodsire Eclairs with Milk. Okay, there's a case with Clodsire Eclairs. I guess I could bump it up a bit more. It is just one meal, though. It's not a lot of meals. Like, apples are in Zingzap and Apple Acid across 2 different types. Blastoise is kind of dessert-locked, and I think that's kind of why I put it there. I guess there could be a case for Apple Acid taking Milk. Okay, I can put Blastoise up. I'll put Blastoise up a little bit more. I'll put it at bottom of S. I'll put it just past the pseudos. Because, like I said, the meta hasn't been too kind to ginger and herbs. ABC Blastoise is 60. Well, you could do that. Influx made me laugh out loud. Fair enough. Milk and Cacao synergies go hard. Yeah. Are you taking pips into account? No, we are not. That's very important. Because otherwise this guy wouldn't even be on the list. He'd be on the list, but he'd be his own category. It was amazing if you catch a good one. I did, but it is not worth hunting over Croagunk. Yeah, that's fair. Okay, so if you think Cramorant is... I just think I put it because it does require great stats, like truly great stats. And I think that's the problem with Cramorant, is that you'd have to catch a pretty solid one. Well, I guess that'd be the case for Luxray, a lot of Pokemon. You know what? Fine, the Tasty Chance is cool. I'll bump it up a little bit more. We'll put it there. No, we'll put it there. Vegamon deserves justice. There, I moved it. There hasn't been too much shifting of things. There've been a little bit, but... Milk goes desserts and salad. Milk does... Yeah, there's multiple different options. That's true. Okay. How are we feeling about where this is currently sitting? There's always going to be someone in chat that disagrees. I think I didn't expect Skeledirge to be such a hot topic. The real question... Sausage Skeledirge. No, I'm kidding. Nobody uses Skeledirge for sausage. There's good reason for that. There's plenty of other options for it. They're Mimikyu versus a Ninetales. I don't actually... That's a difficult comparison to make. Because they don't share an island. They don't share a specialty. With a full team comp. Ugh, you're gonna make me go through team comp. Okay. I'll go through it real quick. I'll use this Gardevoir with maxed out main skill level. Okay, versus Raichu. That's an easier comparison. Okay. If you have favored berries... Oh, wait. No, I'm not going to use actual existing ones. I'm just going to use the bog standard for these ones. Very funny, yes. Okay. Full team combo Raichu. 1.184 million. Versus adding a Mimikyu. With, like, a skill trigger skill. I'll give it this. Okay, that comparison, 1.2 mil. So it's a little bit stronger at level 65 if you get that sort of sub-skills. But it's difficult when discussing berry specialists versus these sorts of guys. Because, like, I bet you with... Well, how does it compare without the help speed M? Because just skill trigger M is definitely 1.16. So, it depends on the sub-skills, realistically, here. And even when on this sort of thing, if you go to Old Gold Power Plant, the Raichus are actually going to do better comparatively, because Gardevoir doesn't have matching favorite berry. So theoretically, this should make this even better for the All Raichu, one. So let's see. Yeah, 537 versus 573. What about if we give it the Health Speed M again? 645. If we take away that, though, then the real comparison is to Golduck. Because Golduck is like the true generalist, realistically. Yeah, that's the real comparison there. And that's the reasoning why I struggle with it so much to suggest it. Because you kind of have to work to make it work. And it's a generalist, but not a generalist. It's a berry specialist, but not a berry specialist. It's also, once again, runs into issues of check time. Raichu doesn't. If you say just make it 2-hour check time, like that's going to change things up a little bit. Because you're not going to be getting as many skill procs. So that's something that Rain X isn't able to account for. Realistically. It's got a functionality for it if you're premium. Once again, I don't know how reliable this is. I remember a while back when they first added double banking, they did add a functionality for it. I think, or they didn't add a functionality for it right away. They said it would require a complete rework. I don't know if they reworked it yet. They must have, though, because the slacking difference was very significant. So I'm assuming that this might be more accurate. I'll reach out to someone to figure out the accuracy of this option. But yeah, I think putting Mimikyu more in A is still a fair placement. Just because of what it takes to team build around it. I think it's generally good, don't get me wrong. But I don't think it's as game-changing as some of these other guys that are up here. If you can get it to 65, then maybe that can be, but honestly, any Pokemon, most Pokemon at 65 is going to be game-changing. Just realized that I can't run a full team of Regis in Pokemon Sleep. No, you cannot. Well, you can't because they don't exist yet. And if they did exist, you probably wouldn't be able to even then, because they'd probably be special Pokemon. Which means that you can only have one per team, unfortunately. That's like how, this is very random and off topic, but my account, my highest RP team doesn't include all my highest RP Pokemon. I've got my Entei and my Cresselia are my number 1 and my number 3, the number 3 Pokemon for RP. So I can't run both of them at the same time. Which means my highest RP team includes my 1st, 2nd, 4th, 5th, and 6th strongest Pokemon, or highest RP Pokemon in the box. Oh yeah, and there are 6 of them. That also creates a problem. Goodbye, probably Regidrago or Regieleki, because those are the... those feel like the least fan-loved Regis, probably, or Regice. But Regice is part of the original ones. Although it's the only Regi that's not really a Regi. I mean, some people pronounce it Regice. But yes, the fact that there are 6 of them also creates a problem. Alrighty. Well then. Any other comparisons people want to make? Any last-minute dissenting opinions? Regice is so cool, stop the slander. I mean, it's... So I expected this, but this is actually a good list. Oh, gosh. Well, thank you for the compliments. I was expecting there to be a lot of... Mimikyu with Sassy versus Raichu with Brave. Well, yeah, that's gonna make a bigger difference. Because Sassy is a main... It's 20% versus 10% boosted. More fair would be Brave versus Brave, which is going to be the same difference. Throw it all out the window once Expert Mode is all... Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I might be doing another another tier list video almost right, like a month after Expert Mode's release. I know I said 6 months, but if Expert Mode is crazy enough of a game changer, I may update the tier list a bit sooner than expected. Like, I don't feel like the game is trying to screw me over. Mimikyu is way easier to get good skills on since it works with berry finding as skill. Whoa, okay. Getting good skills, there's a lot of other things that go into that, Daryl. Because there's the whole badges. If you just get Pichu to friendship level 10, suddenly berry finding S is 1 in 7. That's not very rare, and Pichu is super common. Mimikyu is a 16-pip Pokemon. If we were considering how difficult it is to get good skills, that would change this tier list very heavily. And yes, the tier list will be a video. Yeah, hang on. Distilling my ingredients and dishes spreadsheet has a lot of useful info for people, but I will admit now the distilling into infographics is going to take forever. Shocked that Darkrai isn't under no for you. It would be. I said this multiple times in the video. It would be under no if it wasn't for the fact that I was trying to evaluate based off of just the Pokemon strength and not talking the cost. Talked to Alolan Ninetales and Walrein before. I mean, I could move Walrein down. Honestly, I wouldn't. I'll move Walrein down to the bottom of A tier. If you want to look at it, I'd be happy. Yeah, I mean, I would love to look at it. I'll probably do it off camera, just to check things out and maybe talk about it later. But get tier list of all the Pokemon in your box that you use and how I use them. That would be an interesting video. Honestly, I probably will do it one day. I like that idea. Again, I joked. I joined so late, so apologies if this has been discussed, but I think there's a case for Clodsire being game-changing. Producing the most used ingredient in the strongest dessert. You know, there's a bit of a case there. The thing is, a lot of things produce cacao. There's a lot of alternative options, like Blastoise, well, Absol's not a real viable alternative option. And I was kind of addressing that as well. So, that's a fair point. I will move it up a little bit. I don't think it bumps it up to game-changing, though. I'll move it there, and I'll move Absol along with it for the same reason. Okay. Forgot you knew all the good mons also. Because of the Arcanine Entei-esque proc, that's why. Oh, yeah, so that's a part of it. That's the biggest thing going for it. Also, it is just better. Like, Walrein and... It's got a faster frequency. It is better by default. And then on top of that, it's got a much better main skill that synergizes great on a berry specialist. Why does Holiday Eevee have a better picture than Holiday Pikachu's favoritism? Actually, it's because I uploaded this a while back when they didn't have Holiday... I don't know if they had the Holiday Hat Pikachu on the Rain on X website that I downloaded that from, so if I make another video, I'll change it. A lot of alternative No, there's no alternative options for apples as an ingredient specialist aside from Delibird, Absol, and Pinsir, which are not even close to as good as Skeledirge. There's lots of other Pokemon that make them, but not ingredient specialists who you'd be hunting for ingredient and investing for ingredient specialist things. Skill, yeah, skill. All options for apples are cringe to hunt. I mean, that's also a pop thing. Yeah, they're all 16-pip Pokemons and they're all ABB. Good luck investing in 16. Now, I wasn't considering that for the purposes of the tier list, but if we're to take that out of it, good luck investing an ABB option for apples all the way to level 60 that isn't Skeletor. Well, Skeletor is a mono option. Yeah, I'll watch the videos you post to get caught up. Faster frequency is all I need here. Yeah, that's one part alone. If it was just the frequency alone, it'd probably be like here or here. But the main skill also goes into it, and that's what bumps it up quite a bit for me. I do have ABB Delibird I use. Well, I mean, if you use it, if it's got good sub-skills in nature, then it's what you caught. Glaceon and Magnezone are that much further down from Luxray, Meow Magician. Well, because the only thing they do is the skill, which being the only thing they do is more niche. I feel like Ice Berry and Metal Berry are pretty hard to come by. Yeah, but you don't really want to consider berries on non-berry specialists. And also, having a difficult to come by berry doesn't really help as much as having like a difficult to come by ingredient. Because they're like the only thing that having a difficult to come by berry does for you. This might change with expert mode. And once again, expert mode could severely change this all immediately. Only time will tell on that one. But yeah. Icy Tea Tart is potentially higher because it produces so much and can cover ingredients for the 2 strongest curries, strongest salad, and the 2nd strongest dessert. I guess sausage and that you could talk people into the 3 strongest curries theoretically if you have A, B, C, or the strongest salad or the strongest dessert. There's a case there. Who would you ideally pair with an Alolan Ninetales? Theoretically, other Alolan Ninetales would be the best partners, but I think Tyranitar could be... It depends on what's in your box. Realistically, the things with the berry specialist with the strongest berries and the ingredient specialist with the highest ingredient procs. And then, like, 1 energy for everyone healer. It wouldn't work out great with other generalist skill specialist options. It'd be something that you'd want to lean heavier into berries with. No clue what to do with it. Sorry for all the questions. You're all good. You're all good. Houndoom could be great with an... Yeah, I could see that. Houndoom with a great Alolan Ninetales. That'd be solid. Rare ingredient, greater than rare berry. Sort of things. Anytime, anytime. Don't worry about shutting up. I'm here to answer questions. Anyway, I think we got pretty much the tier list settled, so do you think future legendaries with Helper Boost related functions will come out? Maybe. We'll see. Only time will tell. But anyway, I think we've got pretty much the tier list settled, so I think I'm going to end out the recording portion of this. I'll keep the stream up, though, after this is over, but as far as recording for the purposes of the tier list modifications, we're going to end it out here. So if you have enjoyed, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Down in the description, we'll have a link to join the Discord. You can come join us, hang out, talk about all things Pokemon Sleep and the like. Huge thank you to all my channel members. It really means a lot to me that you guys want to support me in that way. If you too want to support the channel, the join button is there. Feel free to click it if you're financially capable of doing so and want to show your support in that way. And as always, I thank you all for watching and hope that you all have a wonderful day. Goodbye now.